Hey guys, Don here. Welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. This is the tech list that you have downloaded. I want to thank you. This is something that many people have said, and it's over the years I've been kind of messing with technology ever since podiatry school, then into residency and things like that. A little of the background in residency, I did a website. I don't do websites, but I did a website for the surgical center for our residency. And I've just always liked this idea of technology. And I think it's I have a whole bunch of little hacks and I'm excited to share them with you. I would love to know what you guys use that's a little bit different. So I'm going to actually go through and share my screen with you right now. And I'm going to kind of walk you through. This is that actual document. Okay. This is the document that you'll be downloading. Now, this is version 1. I did it in Google Docs, so just an idea. If you make something, you can make it in Google Docs, and then you transfer it over to Designer, and we'll go over that in a little bit. That's the way I made the pretty document that you're probably looking at, but this is the initial version. This is how I do a lot of my things within Google Docs, nice and easy. Everything I'm going to show you, you're going to be seeing a lot of these things actually on my screen, so it's good to share this screen. This is Google Chrome. This is where I put all my technology stuff up here. Trello is how I communicate with the virtual assistant. Google Compose, this is something neat that you might not know about. These are my different folders in my patient presentations and some of my important icons on the bottom. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff, but because I don't want to overwhelm you, but we're going to kind of start with this here on this list. So the first thing we're going to start with is the send later function within Gmail. I know a lot of other programs have send later. How do I use it? Well, the story behind this is in the past, I was seeing a lot of patients and they were getting back to me, or someone was emailing me, and I didn't want to just email them the next day, because basically they would reply to me on the weekend and I didn't want to deal with it. So I wanted to say, is there a way I could email someone like on Monday? And there is a way. It's called send later. It's kind of a cool way of doing that. Let me show you how to do that. What you'll do is you'll just hit this compose. There's a way you can do a compose button, and it actually pulls up my Gmail. And if I want to send an email to someone, there is a function, a couple of really cool functions within Gmail. The nice thing I like about this compose function is it doesn't pull up my Gmail. And why? Because if I pull up my Gmail, I go into I got to look at everything that's in there, and I get distracted and I get overwhelmed. And so this is a way to not get overwhelmed and just to kind of look at it. Okay. So the first thing you do is you put your name, your email, stuff like that. And then the cool thing is down here under send, if you click this, it has schedule send. And so I have to pick someone. So let's pick myself here. You guys can email me. And then schedule send. And the cool thing is it already prompts you to do it tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon or Monday morning, or you can pick a date. And that's kind of cool. I was using this to follow up with patients. So basically I would email them and I would say, hey, just wanted to see how you're doing with your heel pain. And then it would send it to them in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I figured out a little more sophisticated way of doing it. That's how I originally used this schedule send function. So schedule send is the first thing. I think it's great to use, makes life a lot easier. Another thing is a canned response. It used to be called canned responses, and I put links on how to do this. The way you do this is underneath in the email compose function. There's different areas right here, and then you can click here over on the right, that little 3 options. You may have to install this, and I put links on how to install this, and it's something called templates. So the templates, I use it for a lot of different things. So just for example, I used to do these group sessions. So it was a group session follow-up or patient follow-up email, or healthy living invite, meaning I was inviting people to this TV program I was doing called Healthy Living. Fancy Hands FH YouTube. Basically, I wanted them to do a repetitive task on YouTube, uploading it to YouTube and things like that. Thank you for the referral. These are all Healthy Living and Fancy Hands types of things. And you can make a new one by just typing and then saving it as a draft. Okay. If you want to see kind of what one looks like, here is, thanks for signing up for the group session. This should be fun. How is practice going? So it pulls things in, and when just a reminder, when you do save it, you want to delete this stuff. You want to delete your description. While I'm here, something that's not on this list that you might like is something called a welcome packet. Basically what this is, I put it on the bottom, and this is what I give to my patients when they sign up to be a new patient. And it's a link to my website, and it prepares them for the visit. And it also captures their email. That's the whole purpose. Little video about it. And if you want to see the actual welcome packet, they can see it right here, or they can download it. So once again, I did this all with a virtual assistant to do this. So they laid this out and things like that. I can explain that at a later time. Okay, don't want to overwhelm you. So that is the canned response. The follow-up then function. This is cool. If you click this link, it's going to share how to follow up. It's a service that allows you to follow up with people at a certain time. So let me give you an example. If I want to email someone like myself and say, hey, I would say, let's schedule a meeting, okay, to this person. Now, if this person gets back to me, that's great. But what happens if they don't? Like a lot of things, it just kind of disappears. Or another aspect, let's say that there's a bill to pay on the 15th. So the cool thing about the follow-up then, I'm not going to go too much into detail because you can go to their website. I think I pay $5 a month for it. In BCC, blind carbon copy, I can put 2 weeks at follow-up then. Now there's a couple of designations you'll see here. One is 2 weeks at follow-up then. That means that same email, it'll send it back to me in 2 weeks. 2 weeks -R means if they reply to me, it'll delete that follow-up. 2 weeks /SMS means it'll send me a text message with the same topic in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks task, it means after 2 weeks, it'll send something to that person to make sure they completed that task. So that's for like if you're delegating things. So that's a cool function, would be the follow-up then function. I put a link there to that. Another thing would be an optional folder. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how I use that. I guess I can just show you my actual Gmail. So don't look at all my email. It's not to email inbox 0 right now, but I use folder systems pretty heavily, okay? So within folders, I have this optional folder. It's a little red one. These are newsletter templates. These are my follow-up. So all my follow-up then stuff goes into that follow-up folder. Brain toss, I'm going to tell you about that a little bit. It's going to go into there. And so this is my optional folder. So I make everything go into optional, okay? Everything, and then I can just look at it when I want to. That's how the optional folder looks like. Let me explain a little bit about this optional folder. So with an optional folder, everything that I don't need to look at, I send it to my optional folder. I can set up a kind of a directing it. So based on that topic, or if it says unsubscribe in it, I can send it to that optional folder. And I use that for a lot of things. I stole this idea from Ari Meisner. I put it so this link will go to one of his articles. Calendly is another thing that I used quite a bit. You can see it in a couple of places. First, you can see it up here. This is Calendly. So if I want to schedule a meeting with someone, I can just click that. And I have this was my webinar I recently did, Staying Active with Heel Pain. Another webinar we did, old webinars. And then if people want a strategy call with me, they can do this, a healthy living interview, Podiatry Practice Mastery interview, a patient experience call. Basically, that's a testimonial of a patient, and then a meeting with me. So all these give certain access to my calendar. I'm not going to go into details, but basically I've given access Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 12:30 to 1 for all this stuff. And that's when people can choose it. And then people block out the time that they want. Within email, you can do it via email the same way. When you open up your email, you're going to have that Calendly link. So you can include that right in your email when you're talking to someone. Hey, let's set a time to meet up. Or someone emails you and says, hey, do you have some time, this and this and this and time? But you want to just choose the time. So you do this and you do event types. And I say, let's say a strategy call, I copy the link, I put it right in there. And then what happens is when I send that link to them, okay, what it'll do, it'll open up my calendar within Calendly. Okay, so within Calendly, they can see that I have nothing in December. And then in January, I have a few visits. So these other things are already booked up. So it really limits the availability. If you want to give that person more availability, you can, but I kind of limit that. Okay, that's how you use the Calendly. Brain Toss is a cool thing. Actually, Brain Toss is on my cell phone. Let me get that for you. This is how I use it within my phone. It's a little icon that says Brain Toss. Oops, I'm in front of my face. You can't really see it. But what it is, if I click that, it shows this thing. And when I record it and I can talk for up to a minute, it'll transcribe it and send it to my email. So it's a cool way if you want to remember something on the weekend. And I have that going directly into a folder in my email inbox. Okay. those are the tips for the email. Hope those are helpful. Next, we're going to go on to computer. Gatekeeper, this is the thing that I'm using right here. This logs me into my computer. This is cool. Like, this is the best 150 or whatever, $200 you pay. I don't type my password anymore. So it remembers all my passwords, my main login for the computer. And then it can also remember the other passwords. I use Google password. There's other password things you can use, but this is cool. It's called Gatekeeper. We just like it. We used it in our practice. In the beginning, it was a little pain to set up because we have multiple doctors and we're close to each other. It kind of logs one out, or it logged one out and logged another in, but now it works great. Google Chrome, this is what I was mentioning. I'm logged in, and I have 7 computers that I use daily in each office. And I log in to each of those computers with my Google password. So that's right up here in the corner. You can see my little name, logs me in. And so I have access to the same dashboard wherever I'm at, on the top and on the bottom. Makes it really easy to do stuff. So that's what I do for Google Chrome. And then I can have access to anything like my presentations, my Trello, my Todoist, my Calendly, my Evernote, and things like that. Another thing I was talking about was Todoist. So let me show you this. This is where I put, I'll explain how I use it these days. So with Todoist, if I want to follow up with a patient, I'll be in my EMR, I'll copy their medical record, and I'll put their EMR number, call patient in 2 weeks. Okay, so let me show you an example. If I want to make one of these, you get to see everything on my Todoist. These are the things that I want to do. It reminds me to do my 5-minute patient presentation, to evaluate my office numbers, to do a course in a video creation course that I'm doing, to order some books and follow up with people. The neat thing is it does things automatically. So for example, if I want to call a patient, so let's say patient 55667, call in 2 weeks, it will come back to me in 2 weeks. Then I can take this and send it through my medical record to my staff, and they'll call that patient. Okay, that's how I use this. There's no functionality within my EMR for me to remember to call someone. And I think it's good customer service just to call someone, if just to see how they're doing, maybe in 2 months, like they're not making a follow-up, but you're just concerned. And I really care about them if they're getting better. I used to do that, that email send later function, but no one ever really got to me. So this way it works better because I can also delegate it to my staff. So that's how I use this, this Todoist. You can also use it to set up different projects. Okay, so within there, for example, I want to do Podiatry Practice Mastery. And I am recording this thing in here. Let me just move this over. There's different tech ideas. This is the one that I'm doing right here. So for tech ideas, I put all these different ideas in here. This is how I set it up. And then I put it onto this document. So this is Todoist. I use this every single day for other things to remind me how to do that. Next thing would be Google Slides. I'm a big advocate of Google Slides. I use it for a couple of things. Let me show you. First thing would be my patient presentations. We'll get into that a little bit later, but all my presentations are in alphabetical order in Google Slides, and you'll probably have an offer here to join my membership, and this is where you can get access to these. But we'll go over that in a second about the patient presentations. What I wanted to show you is I use Google Slides both for Podiatry Practice Mastery, which is PPM, and for CMP. So for CMP, which is Central Mass Podiatry, let me show you what I do here. When I open up, I put all my ideas. It's like a brain dump where I dump my ideas for different things in slides. It works a lot better, in my opinion, than Google Docs for me. So if I get a picture, for example, I'll take a picture, it'll pop up my EMR, and then I can copy it without any identifiers, and I can put it here. So here's an example of a patient from like many years ago. And then recently I wanted to show this fracture. I wanted to show how the foot moved over. And this is, I'm going to include in one of my newsletters. So down here, what you're going to find if you join my newsletter, you'll see I'm preparing one for January, but this is the one I just did in December. Basically, I developed the whole newsletter right here. And all I do is I hit present and I record it just like I'm recording this thing. That's how I do my video newsletter each month. And so there's the one for November. Here's the one for December. When it's not completed, I put these little lines here, and here's different pictures that I use. So that's how I use Google Slides in the office to make content. Okay, taking pictures from the EMR, putting them in there as long as there's no identifiers. Another thing is Grammarly, which is a great way to not appear ignorant. So this little thing right down here, it shows six airs, and it pulls up different phrases You can use them or not, but that's great. I do the free version. I don't have a paid version, but it makes me look better with Calendly. Okay, or I'm sorry, Grammarly. So those are the computer hacks and tips. Let's go now to delegation tips. Okay, so let me tell you the story behind this. In the past, I always tried to do everything, and I could for the most part, but then I like had kids, and then I got a wife, and then we have 2 practices, and we're just always busy. And I was like, I want to do more, but I just can't. So there's a good book out there called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. And he talks about using like virtual assistants or delegations or things like that. So I was kind of slow to go with that. I always thought I had to be the one. But then what I realized is by making videos, I could just explain things once, and then I could share that with people on how to do those things. So one way, let's go through these things. So the first thing is Fancy Hands. So let's go into Fancy Hands. I'll log in, I'll show you what I use. So Fancy Hands is a virtual assistant, right? And it'll go to my dashboard, and they do things for me. So they do things based on a task. So a request. I have 13 requests. They're each about 20 minutes each, and I have them do different things. So for example, I want to share a copy of Gap and Gain to a doctor at UMass. He's a primary care. Can you send it? And basically, I just say that. They charge my credit card. They send them the book, and it's a good way to follow up with people. Like I want to do stuff, but I don't want to do it. So I can send cards. I don't really send cards, but I send like books. I send different things to people so I can get it done because I don't have an admin to do that. There was a certain conference I went to where I got a whole bunch of people. I took a picture of them and I wanted to get their LinkedIn profiles, and they did that for me. So for example, all my primary care docs had this huge list. I wanted to get their LinkedIn to reach out to them. Can you send a copy of the obesity code to another doctor? Another LinkedIn request. I wanted to research a digital recorder. I needed pillows for my jacuzzi because they were running out. I wanted someone to print something. I wanted to have them work on editing a book. I wanted them to make a Google Doc. So they can do all these things, and that's how I use them. That's called Fancy Hands. I would really recommend it. It's pretty cheap. I think I pay $30 a month or something like that. Another way as well is something called Fiverr. Now, I am a big Fiverr addict. I've used Fiverr for a lot of different gigs. That's what they call it. They call them gigs. When I was doing my books, I used to use them to kind of do the layouts and everything else. Okay, so let me show you here. I'm just logging in. So a few things that I do. I've had them actually design my Kajabi site. They actually designed the whole thing, and it was awesome. Okay, so they have a number of things that they can do things. This is actually the guy I used. He designed my Kajabi site, and I think I paid maybe $300, but it was like done. I didn't have to do anything else, and that was my Dr. Pelto site. This is something also called Honey, where you can get a discount on stuff. So Fiverr, if you want to see kind of the orders that I've done in the past, I had them do the letterhead. Actually, this guy never got back to me, so they refunded the money. I had them do a logo that I wanted. That was a logo that I use here. My post-op surgery logo, so they can get like a post-op little thing as a QR code logo. I had them do a PDF or a book design. So I've had them design this book, where's that, right? My Healthy Living book. Sorry, you're not going to see it. You can go to Dr. Pelto and you can see those. I've had them figure out how to do a Shopify site, a book design, update my LinkedIn, do more work on Kajabi, set up my YouTube trailer, do a PDF download. And then a lot of my slides, they designed those. I had them design my YouTube cover right here. Do professional video editing. This guy did some great editing, putting intros and outros, more letterhead stuff, and a lot of book stuff and flyer stuff. So you can find anything that you want within Fiverr. I use it all the time. So something to consider would be Fiverr. Another thing would be a virtual assistant. There's a lot of different ones. I've used different ones in the past. I usually communicate with them via Trello. Okay. So what I do with a virtual assistant is I put in different tasks for them to help me with. And then I pay them. If they're from the Philippines, I'll pay them one way. I had a Filipino that was helping me. Currently, I have someone else helping me. And so I have my wife trying to do stuff for me, but She can't get her to do. She hopes she's not listening. She will do stuff in the future. So here is my virtual assistant. So I invited her to do things. I explain how to do it. I put videos in here, and then she's doing it. To do, doing, done, and then paid. That's how I organize that. And here's my knowledge base, where I share information of how to do Calendly work, Trello work, YouTube work, video editing, uploading it, doing my Anchor podcast, and things like that. And this is how I transfer money to the Philippines. So that is there. That's how I use the Trello. I didn't add that in here, but that's how I communicate with my virtual assistants. Travel, I'm just throwing this out there because this is like great. I have a travel agent, and she does all the traveling stuff, setting it up for me. Her name is Sally. There'll be a link to her, but basically I know you can do it, but you probably shouldn't be doing it. So try to delegate it out. That's a key. If you're getting stressed, don't think how, think who. That's the key. Okay. We don't learn that in residency. We're always used to doing stuff on our own. Next thing we're going to get into is marketing. So Designer is a great way to make cool looking PDFs. So some of mine on this Podiatry Practice Mastery are done in Designer. You just click the link and you can go there. It takes a little bit to get used to it. It's not as easy as Word, but it can pull documents in from Word. It can pull documents in from Google Slides, and it works great that way. I know I did an interview with Dr. Schneider, and he uses it all the time. It has a transcription function, but I use it just to make simple things where I use Otter down here, and it records my voice and it transcribes it. And I take that transcription, edit it a little bit, and throw it in Designer, and it makes it. And you can add slides. So I add different Google Slides right into the Designer. You basically want to do all the editing first in Google Docs, and then upload it, and then it looks good. And you can pick a design. Kajabi is where I host my 2 websites. So I have 3 websites. One is Central Mass Podiatry, which is my business website for my practice, but it's not so great for marketing. You can book appointments. That's its main purpose. And it has a little cool chat bot that usually shows up down here eventually. That's the chat bot where they can text questions to us. I have a Dr. Pelto website, which is the one I use for marketing. And this is where I can give away my books and my courses, and they can book an appointment and see that welcome pack and things like that. And they can get my shoe buying guide. This is the one I paid the Kajabi person $300 to design. And basically I just said, hey, look at this website. I like it. Can you make something similar to it? And then the last one is Podiatry Practice Mastery, where you got this from. And so the last 2 were made on Kajabi, pretty reasonable. I think it's 150 for the first site, and then 300 for the second site per month, which is pretty reasonable. And it really easy, because if you want to do an email newsletter, it makes it a lot easier because of the email functionality. You could link different things together, but I like it that way. So marketing as well, a great way that's kind of a tech tool is, once again, delegating, but making a print newsletter. I don't send a print newsletter to all my patients. I send it to only my referral source. So let me show you the tech tool, okay? Within Office, I have this Profit 911 list. And what this is a list of all the practices that have referred to us in the last year, okay? We have their names, their addresses, and I just downloaded this from my EMR. It's called the master list down here, okay? And so the cool thing is then when I'm talking to someone, for example, and I meet someone new, I can just add them down here. So there's For Better Health, which is a natural doctor, Delicate Care Salon, Nail Salon, St. Vincent Medical Groups, Mend Chiropractic. And these I add in, and it's on my Google Docs, and they just pull from this list once a month when they send my newsletter. Okay, that's how I do the making my master list to all the doctors and just people I want to refer to, like different shoe stores and things like that. And then if you want to see what the newsletter looks like, and they do all of this, and they actually send us 20 or 30 copies so that we can share them with our patients. This is kind of what it looks like. And there's a little thing that I do. They pull Google reviews, which I think is key, something up here, and then some cool little handouts. Different idea health things that they share. So they make that all for us. I just do one article. Video newsletter. This is something that I do once again with Google Slides that I showed you before. And then I just upload it to YouTube. So, and I send this out to my whole list via that Kajabi website. So you want to email your list. And this is the December 2021. You can watch that one if you want. And then I have some calls. Oops, I have some calls to action here on the bottom for them, and then they can make an appointment, all that stuff. You can kind of copy that if you want. Otter.io is how I transcribe things. You can look at that. StreamYard, it just made things a lot easier. If you want to do a lot of videos, StreamYard, what you do is you record it, then it'll pull in the intro, and then you record the whole video, and it'll pull in an outro, and it'll automatically, you can record it, and it can upload to LinkedIn, it can upload to YouTube, it can upload to Facebook, all those things. It's real cool. So you might want to consider that. Zoom is what most people use. So finishing up, I know everyone's kind of getting tired. I'm real excited about this as well. This is a technology tip. It's called Patient Education Genius, or PEG. Basically, within my EMR, I can send information and it automatically documents it in the medical record, and it sends them this content. I can put in PDFs, I can put in videos, I can put anything. You just click this link and you can see about it. This is like great. It makes it so easy to send information to my patients, and it documents it, but also asks them for a referral. That's the cool thing. Not a referral, but an online review. And then another cool tip is these patient presentations. I'm going to put a link to the course if you guys want to look at that course. I think currently it's within the membership, but I'm going to make a standalone course. Basically, it'll be some version of all these slides, and I share these with my patients. I'm not going to go into detail, but basically, this has revolutionized my practice. I share a slides deck on plantar fasciitis with my patients, and I have a checklist in there and all that stuff. It works great. If you want to learn more, you can listen to my podcast. I have a lot of information about that. YouTube videos, making books. Once again, I've used the transcription thing, and I've used Google Slides to make it, as well Designer and Fancy Hands. They edited it, and then Fiverr kind of laid everything out. And then webinars. I don't want to go into webinars too much, but webinars, once again, using Google Slides, make the webinar, offer it on Calendly, send it out in an email. They all sign up. You can do up to 100 people. And then you give it, and then it can be evergreen, meaning you can use it. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this tech list. This was a lot of fun. Hope you guys find this helpful. Please get all the information within Podiatry Practice Mastery and let me know what you think, and reply to these emails that you'll be getting from me. Okay, once again, hope this was beneficial. If you have any other ideas that I didn't include, please let me know. Okay, guys, thanks.